My mom said she's proud of me, so I checked the nursing home's visitor log. My mother has not been proud of me a single day in my entire life. Not when I graduated high school with honors, not when I got into Yale, not when I became a surgeon. Every accomplishment was met with the same response. That's nice, but your brother would have done it better. My brother died when I was 7. He was 12. Brain aneurysm. One minute he was playing basketball in the driveway, and the next minute he was gone. After that, I became a shadow in my own house. Every report card was compared to his old ones. Every trophy was measured against the ones collecting dust in his room. My mother turned him into a saint, and I became the understudy who could never learn the lines correctly. When I was 16, I stopped trying to impress her. When I was 22, I stopped visiting unless it was a holiday. When I was 30, I put her in the nicest nursing home I could afford and visited once a month out of obligation, not love. Last Tuesday, I got a call from Meadowbrook Senior Living. My mother had fallen and broken her hip. I drove 3 hours to get there, walked into her room, and found her awake and coherent, which was rare these days. The dementia had been getting worse. She looked at me, smiled, and said something she had never said before in my entire life. "I'm so proud of you." I froze. My mother doesn't say things like that. She doesn't smile at me like that. "What did you say?" I said, "I'm proud of you, sweetheart. You've worked so hard." The warmth in her voice felt wrong, like someone had put on a mask of my mother and forgotten to study her mannerisms first. I sat down slowly. "Mom, do you know who I am?" "Of course I do. You're my baby." She'd never called me that, ever. That was reserved for my brother. Always for my brother. "What's my name?" She hesitated, and her smile flickered. "You're my son." "What's my name, Mom?" Her face went blank, and she looked away. I felt my chest tighten. "Who do you think I am?" She turned back to me with tears in her eyes and said my brother's name. "Daniel." The room tilted. She thought I was him. She thought I was her dead son, and that's why she was proud. That's why she smiled. I stood up and walked out without saying another word. I made it to my car before I started shaking. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole interaction felt off beyond just the mistaken identity. My mother's dementia had been progressing, but she'd always known who I was before. She'd look at me with that disappointed expression that said she knew exactly who I was and wished I were someone else. But this was different. This felt staged. The next morning, I called Meadowbrook and asked to speak to the head nurse. I explained what happened and asked if my mother had been confusing residents or staff lately. The nurse paused. "Actually, Dr. Harris, your mother's cognition has been remarkably stable this month. She's been very lucid." "That doesn't make sense." She called me by my dead brother's name. Another pause. "That's strange. She's been talking about you specifically to other residents, using your actual name, showing people your photo." My stomach dropped. "Can I access the visitor log?" I drove back to Meadowbrook that afternoon and sat in the administrator's office while she pulled up the records. My mother had no other family. I was her only visitor, and I came once a month like clockwork. The log should have been simple, but it wasn't. Someone had been visiting my mother 3 times a week for the past 4 months. The name on the log was Daniel Harris, my brother's name, my dead brother, who had been gone for 33 years. "Who is this?" I asked. The administrator looked uncomfortable. I assumed it was another family member. He always signs in properly, follows all protocols. "What does he look like?" She pulled up the security footage and fast-forwarded to the last visit, 2 days ago. A man in his mid-40s walked through the lobby, signed the visitor log, and headed toward my mother's wing. I watched him disappear down the hallway, and my hands started shaking because I recognized him immediately. It was my father, who left when I was 9, who I hadn't seen or heard from in 31 years, who vanished 2 years after my brother died and never looked back. He'd been visiting my mother for months, pretending to be the son she actually wanted to see. I had the administrator pull every piece of footage she had. I watched my father visit my mother dozens of times, holding her hand, bringing flowers, sitting by her bed for hours. I watched my mother light up every single time he walked in. I watched her smile at him the way she never smiled at me. The administrator was talking, saying something about protocols and verification, but I couldn't hear her. I walked down to my mother's room. She was awake, staring at the ceiling. "Mom!" She turned her head and her face fell when she saw me. The disappointment was back. The real her was back. "Oh. It's you. Dad's been visiting you." She didn't deny it. She just looked away. "He told me not to tell you. He said you'd be upset. I'm your son. Your actual son. The one who's been paying for this place. The one who visits every month even though you've never once told me you loved me." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that broke me completely. "But you're not the son I wanted." I left Meadowbrook that night and didn't look back. I called the billing department the next morning and had her account transferred to my father's name. Let the man who abandoned both of us 30 years ago be the one she's proud of. He can pay for it too.